Welcome back to KIC'S tutorials. In our last class, we talked about anatomy. I told you the definition of anatomy, and we also looked at the levels of study of anatomy, and we looked at the anatomical terms. Under there, we looked at the planes. I told you that we continue by looking at the terms of position and terms of movement in this video. So stay tuned. Welcome back to KIC'S tutorials. Today we are going to look at the terms of positions and terms of movement. So let's start with the terms of positions, and we have the first one, which is right, left, anterior, and posterior. So we look at the right. If you watched my video where I told you about the planes, anatomical planes, you see that there is one plane that divides the body into the right and the left half, which divides the body this way into the left and the right half. And the right side of my body is this way, while the left side is this way. And we have the anterior and posterior. The anterior simply means that the structure is related to your front. Like, let's say the breast is an anterior structure, while posterior means that the structure is related to your back. So now we look at the next one, superior and inferior. And we also have medial and the lateral. So we look at superior. Superior simply means that the structure is at the upper part of the body, like the structure is nearer to the head. And inferior simply means that the structure is far away from the head, or at the lower part of the body. And we also have the median. When you use the median, you are referring to a structure that is directly at the midline. That means the median is also another name for the midline, which is an imaginary line which divides the body into the right and the left halves. We have the medial also, and the medial means that the structure is nearer to the midline. Like when you say that the first rib is nearer to the midline, the medial side of the first rib. When you're talking about the medial side of the first rib, that means the side that is nearer to the midline in the first rib. So we look at the next one, lateral. Lateral simply means that the structure is further away from the midline. Like when you're moving your upper limb this way, that means you're moving your upper limb far away from the midline laterally. So we have the next one, which is called superficial we have deep, we have the proximal, and distal. So we look at superficial. Superficial simply means that the structure is nearer to the skin, and some of those structures are, like when we'll be talking about fascia, you see that the superficial fascia is nearer to the skin. And we also have deep, which means that the structure is far away from the skin, like when we talk about the bones that are the deep structures. And we look at proximal. Proximal simply means that the structure is nearer to the reference point. Like when you're talking about the elbow joint, and you say that the hand is proximal to the elbow joint. That means the hand is nearer to the elbow joint. And when we look at deep and distal, distal simply means that the structure is further away from the reference point. So the next one we'll be looking at is caudal and cranial. And we also have the other ones, external and internal. So we look at caudal. Caudal simply means that the structure is nearer to the lower part of the body, or is at the lower part of the body, while cranial, if you look up your medical dictionary, you see that the prefix crani means that what you are referring to is nearer to the head, or is related to the skull. And so this cranial simply means that the structure is nearer to the upper part of the body. So when we look at external simply means that the structure is outside the body, like when we have exoskeletons, which are external structures. And internal simply means that the structure is inside the body, like the bones and muscles. So we go over to the terms of movement, and under the terms of movement we have flexion, extension, and also we have abduction and adduction. So we look at flexion. Flexion simply means that the structure is brought together. Like when you're flexing your elbow, that means your bones are coming together. So the movement flexion is simply involved with the bringing together of two bones that meet at a joint. Like when you're flexing your thumb, which occurs in one deformity, which is called the deformity which is involved with the hand, which is the clumpar's paralysis, which involves the brachial plexus. So we look at the next one, extension. Extension simply means that the structure is being taken away from the bones of a joint are being taken away from each other, like stretched. And extension, an example of extension is when you try to also in that clumpar's paralysis, the metacarpal bones are being stretched. So we look at abduction. Abduction simply means that the structure is being moved away from the midline. Like when you're abducting your upper limb, you're moving it away from the midline. So we look at the next one, adduction. Adduction simply means that the structure is coming nearer to the midline. And we look at rotation. And circumduction. And we also have pronation and supination. So we look at rotation. Rotation is like half of circumduction. What I mean is that rotation involves like rotating your hand only like this way. When you move it inward, you call it medial rotation because you're rotating it nearer to the midline, while we have the next one called lateral rotation, when you're rotating it further away from the midline. While circumduction is a combination of both the lateral and the medial rotation. So we look at pronation. Pronation is simply the opposite of anatomical position. When the body is pronated, the palms are open facing backward and the legs brought together with the face faced forward. And we also have supination, which is the same with anatomical position, where the palms are open facing forward with the legs brought together and the face faced forward. And we also have other ones like protrusion and retrusion. And we also have retraction, and contraction. So we look at protrusion. Protrusion is simply when a structure moves outside the body, like moves externally. Like we have some structures that occur naturally like that, like the nipple and the nose. So we look at retrusion. Retrusion simply means that the structure is moving inside the body, which occurs when cancer of the breast, during cancer of the breast, which the nipple goes in internally into the body. And we have the next one, which is called retraction. Retraction is simply when the structure, which is mostly muscles, where the muscles retracts, like regains its shape and size, while in contraction is the opposite. Sorry, the C between this A. C between the A. So we look at contraction. In contraction is where the muscle is being flexed or is being stretched. So we have other ones like inversion and eversion. Inversion simply means when mostly applied to the sole of the foot, but you can also apply it with the palms, with the hands. When the hands are inverted, that means the hands are moved nearer to the midline, which occurs in what we call the Erb's paralysis, which involves the brachial plexus, and this affects the muscles of the hand, which causes the hand to be brought nearer to the midline, like while the main upper limb, the arm and the forearm are this way, the normal way, but medially rotated, while the hand is faced inward to the midline of the body, to the midline, sorry. And we also have other ones, but you can search them out by yourself. So in this video I've told you much about anatomy, and this is the main root of anatomy. I hope you understood this because it will help you in the study of anatomy. Thank you.